It is 10 o'clock p.m. on the west coast of the United States. It is 0500 GMT, and that means it's time for CBAS After Dark, the last night of the week. And it was another one of those nights where I just about didn't feel like doing the show. And then I kind of got on a track. And as I got on the track, it became more and more interesting. And as it got more and more interesting, I'm like, all right, well, I can just doggy paddle for an hour and chat about fucking nothing. And there's a show. That's a show, according to George Costanza. I decided to make it Creepy TV Thursday. If you remember me talking last Friday, or it wasn't last Friday, this happened to me last Friday, but I think I talked on Sunday about getting creeped out, and I believe I brought it to you when I did, what was it? I forget which night of the week it was. It wasn't Media Watch Wednesday. It might have been Nerd News. I forget when exactly I talked about it, but I talked about the freaky ass, maybe it was Nerd News Monday. We talked about the freaky ass broadcast television hack that happened back in 1987 in the city of Chicago in the United States. And even really thinking about it to this day gives me the willies. Like, it's actually a pretty interesting story of hacking before hacking was hacking, before the internet was the internet, certainly. And the fact that they never found the guy, and the creepy nature of the mask that was used and everything. I won't rehash it here. If you're interested, go back to the Nerd News Monday from 4 days ago. So it would be like April 5th, I believe, or 6th. Whichever Monday of this week was, fine, Nerd News Monday, and I think that's where we'll talk about it. But then I kind of got to thinking tonight, all right, I will tell you this. One of the guys in the Trekkie chat room, it was Sal, my friend Sal, started talking about, I believe it was him, he mentioned that god-awful, and I say god-awful, never having seen it, full disclosure, the movie called The Human Centipede. Now, I have friends who love the genre of horror movies. And not just psycho-thriller movies, which I do like. These are movies that are explicitly gross and disgusting and bloody and gory and, in short, you think of those Saw movies. Now, I will claim right here for the world and for all time, if you like that series of movies that are called Saw, there is something wrong with you. All right, not something wrong in a funny way or a good way. There's something seriously disturbed mentally about your psyche. Now, again, I have friends who are into the genre, but even my friends who like horror movies find these Saw movies. And one friend put it this way. He's like, it's like a snuff film without the sex. It's just torture porn. It's just fucking disgusting. And I believe that movie, The Human Centipede series of movies, essentially is in that same category. It's like, gory ass shit without a real reason, without a payoff, just gory for the sake of being gory, disgusting for the sake of being disgusting, just seeing how disturbed and depraved and sort of sick a movie can be. And I'm not into that at all. So I avoid such things because, well, for one thing, I see it in my dreams, right? I see it in my nightmares. And for another thing, I feel like, again, there is something wrong with you if you can look at that. It desensitizes the human psyche. I spent way too much time in psychology class. I'm not a psychologist, never was, and hope to die, I never will be. But I learned enough about the human psyche there to know that desensitization is a real thing. And when you talk about violence or when you talk about porn addiction, there's all kinds of ways in which the psyches of human beings change when exposed to certain stimuli over a long period of time. As one of my professors said in psychology school many, many years ago, she's like, be careful what you associate with your orgasms, because that is a thing that it's almost impossible, really, she was saying, to undo it. So if you start, that's how fetishes start. I've talked about this before. If you like lacy, soft, silky underwear or something like that, and you have a fetish, not just like it, if you're, you wear it for, because it feels good, whatever. If you have a fetish, if you cannot have an orgasm without it, in the absence of it, that's a fetish. Like, that is something deviant from the norm. And it's not a damaging fetish or a destructive fetish or even an inappropriate fetish, really. Many people have something in that category, whether it's the furry thing, which, again, I don't really understand from a human standpoint, but I understand psychologically. It's right up there with the silky, women's underwear fetish, or what do they call it? The second skin fetish, the people who are into leather, but not leather like bondage leather, the people who are into, for instance, you show me someone, I heard a doctor once say, if you show me someone who's got tattoos all over their face and piercings and stuff, I'll show you someone who is spanked heavily and punished severely physically as a child. That stuff just kind of goes hand in hand. And people, physicians who I trust to really seriously, see these people and talk with these people, are confident and kind of angry about it, but they're sure as they could be sure that causing someone, a trusted parent type figure causing pain of a certain type and abuse of a certain type to people has results later in life. All right, whether it's being kinky and liking being tied up, liking being spanked, whether it is wanting to inflict pain on others, whether it is wanting to pierce your own skin before somebody else does, or hurting yourself with a tattoo needle, doing it to yourself before somebody else does. I mean, there's all kinds of ways in which that stuff filters right back to this childhood psyche. So when you talk about horror movies, not just psychological thrillers, like I said, but the category of stuff that is sort of most extremely exemplified by the stuff that's titled Saw. And there's been a series of them, and they're wildly popular because we live in a fucked up culture that's very sick in the head and, likes revenge porn, likes torture porn. I mean, so, sorry. Complete shifting of gears for a second. This is a light bulb full of Easter M&Ms that my sister gave me for Easter. And that's what I'm eating. Actually, she gave me another one that has jelly bellies in it, jelly beans. And that's exactly what I'm eating, specifically. And you can tell, comparing the two, that I've been eating the jelly beans more than the M&Ms because it's a bright idea. Okay. Blah, blah, blah. So, somebody mentioned the human centipede. I've never seen it, nor will I. I have no curiosity whatsoever for that. And like I say, there's something wrong with people who dig that shit. To see it once does not mean there's something wrong with you. Natural human curiosity is a natural thing. And from what I read about it, I've actually been reading about it on Wikipedia. In a text format, I can sort of, read about the production of it and the filmmakers and the funding process and all of that. And to sort of satisfy the curiosity that I do have about how such a movie could be made and in what ethnicity or nationality the filmmakers were, so on. I'm sorry, I have jelly beans all up in my teeth now. Okay. So I got to reading about that movie. And then I saw something about ITC Films. Now, this is where my brain just had a complete misfire, a brain fart, if you will. And I got to thinking about ITC Entertainment. Let's take a look for a second, because what I got to looking up, in fact, I was sure the first moment that I was talking about this, I was thinking of it in my head. What I did was went to images.google.com and typed in IFC Films. Because I believe one of the associations in this country with that movie was IFC. IFC is the Independent Film Channel. There's a channel on regular cable television with this stuff, and then there is like IFC Films, which is actually, let's go to the Wikipedia page for IFC Films just for a second. It is an American film distribution company, an offshoot owned by AMC. It distributes independent films and documentaries. Good stuff, for the most part. I mean, I imagine they probably do that other shit, like the horror shit and whatever the hell. Just about every major film distributor has an arm like this. God, shut the fuck up with your Facebook notifications. Okay, so that is where I had a brain fart, because I was thinking IFC. I remember IFC. They used to do that creepy TV show in the 80s or early 90s called Secrets and Mysteries. Incorrect, Sebastian's brain. That was not IFC Films. That was ITC Entertainment, which is a British outfit. Let's go back to the Wikipedia page for a second and not look at IFC Films, but look for ITC Entertainment. Here's the logo on the right. And then it actually went through a number of sort of logos. There's a still from the 1973 ITC Entertainment. And this is a company. Oh my God, you've got to shut up. I may have to like mute my own screen just to stop my stupid Facebook friends. You ever get I mean, just as a sidebar here, those people who really don't update Facebook or Twitter for a long time and then decide they have to, kind of have a burst of it and 18 posts in 15 minutes. And it's just like, fuck, it's too much. It's too much. Really, it'd behoove you to return more regularly, post a little less spastically, and, save us all a bunch of trouble and sifting through a bunch of your shit at all one time. All right. ITC Entertainment. That got me thinking about the show, as I mentioned, Secrets and Mysteries. And that got me thinking about Unsolved Mysteries, and that got me thinking about In Search Of, and that got me thinking, aha, creepy TV. That's what we're going to do tonight. Not scary, horror, gory bullshit, but stuff that's actually scary in a non-visual way. Now, what I read about that first Human Centipede movie was, in fact, that it was surprisingly ungory, given the material, given the circumstances, and so on. And I was not aware of that until I read that just in 15 minutes ago, kind of a thing. So it may be a movie I could stomach. For instance, I could not stomach, I had to turn off one of those Saw movies, maggots eating dead babies and, empty swimming pool full of broken glass hypodermic needles kind of bullshit. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's not just ridiculous, like a lot of movies are ridiculous, but that is like seriously disturbing. And anybody who is popping the popcorn while watching that shit, there is something fucked up with your brain and you're a sick individual. Different strokes for different folks, I guess, but that's something that, seriously, I'm not friends with anybody who digs that shit because frankly, you're desensitized to it. And the more you're desensitized to it, the more there's a chance, frankly, you could twist off. People do twist off. People do go crazy. Sane, normal people, you think Jeffrey Dahmer started by watching Bugs Bunny cartoons and the Jetsons and shit and whatever. We can go on and on about Jeffrey Dahmer someday, and we won't. But just like, for instance, The Exorcist, I saw. When did I see The Exorcist? I mean, it was sort of as an older teenager, but that was a movie that was psychologically thrilling and suspenseful and interesting and impactful and not at all disgusting in a visceral way. So that's when I sort of learned the differentiation between psychological thrillers and mysteries and that kind of thing, and the garbage like Saw. And and I think I know from having talked to people who saw the show last week or earlier this week regarding the creepy Max Headroom broadcast hijacking. That Max Headroom thing was creepy as hell and kind of freaked people out. You kind of you close your eyes and see the image in your mind. You might have it visit you in your dreams. And, I've known many, many people who think of and hear even just the phrase, the Unsolved Mysteries theme music. All you have to do is say that and people go, whoa, because that was some creepy ass, really scary music. Now, it wasn't like the, psycho knife killing scene music. It was, it's much more sort of 80s and I somewhere between orchestral and synthesized, you know what I'm saying? It was not, how do I say this? It was not all orchestral. It was certainly a fair amount of it that was kind of synthesized and multi-tracked and very, very sophisticated, but I don't care what you say about how the music was made. When you listen to that music and you were exposed to it as a teenager or a young adult or a kid, certainly in the 80s when it was on, and Robert Stack with his very flat, very serious, mysterious presentation, creepy as shit. Now, the other one, the one I was talking about from ITC Entertainment, the one that was called Secrets and Mysteries, was hosted by Devon from the original Knight Rider. His name is Edward Mulhare, British actor. I'm trying to think of other stuff I've seen him in. I can't really remember much. We're going to look at the sequence of openings from Unsolved. We may even watch an episode of Secrets and Mysteries just to sort of fuck around tonight. But let's start with... I just had muted that, and I just turned it back up so I can play the goddamn Unsolved Mysteries music. I may have to... Can I turn off notifications? Is there any way? I don't even know how. I'm going to have to research how to turn off fucking Facebook notifications, because why is it all goddamn day I'm checking Facebook, nobody updates shit, and I go on the air the one time when I need the fucking thing to be quiet, and it's ding, 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 ding. Shut the fuck up! I'm on the air. If any of you people had your druthers, you'd be watching me anyway. All right. Let's go to the web. I'm kind of interested in this article about ITC. Selected filmography. For instance, they did the Muppet movie from 1979. They did On Golden Pond, Sophie's Choice, The Dark Crystal. Okay, you can kind of see. Many of these are independent movies. The Return of the Pink Panther, Jesus of Nazareth, 77. And it's got associations and other companies. I believe it's now owned as of 1999 by who? Defunct as of 98. But I thought it said something about being purchased. Oh, yeah. So folded into Universal Studios, and the assets were sold to Carlton Communications in 99. That's what it was. When you look at Fate here on the right-hand side, you can see. But that's a company that goes back to 1958. So they go way, way back. And that's mildly interesting in one way. Let's start with the creepiest. And this is an Unsolved Mysteries uploaded to YouTube. It's not just the music. It's the actual full-on opening. And if you're susceptible to this, you may want to turn it off now. This creeps the fuck out of me, though. But in a good way. Thank you, Digital Dave, 1982.
Recreating the events.
Okay. The terror, by the way, goes back to this initial disclaimer. And I remember, and my sister remembers, and the only reason I'm so sure that I remember this and my sister remembers this so distinctly is I'm going to read the following thing to you that was on the screen a second ago. We'll go back to it. This program is about unsolved mysteries. Whenever possible, the actual family members and police officials have participated in recreating the events. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast. All right, I'm getting goosebumps just reading that to you. But here's the interesting thing about it. My sister would do it every single week. Every single week. It was like must-see television before must-see TV was such a thing. We watched it very regularly in my house as a kid. My sister and me and my mom. And I guess sometimes my dad would be home watching with us. I feel like for whatever reason, like my dad either worked late at the time this was on or just wasn't in like he had a shift that changed, and sometimes he would work in the evening when we were watching primetime TV. But that last sentence, what you are about to see is not a news broadcast, originally had an extension. What you are about to see is not a news broadcast or a news documentary. And they shortened that last part for whatever reason. But my sister would always chime in with it. Always. Like there was not a week that went by where my sister, unless she wasn't in the room, every single time we were watching this show, and the announcer would say, what you are about to see is not a news broadcast. My sister would go, or a news documentary. Not to be annoying, but just because she remembered how it used to be. And that, for some reason, stuck with my sister. And it really stuck with me to the point where I'm going to actually type that in later. But let's watch just the full-on opening sequence from Unsolved Mysteries. It's like season whatever in 1990. And make sure the volume's turned up. Okay, try not to get too scared.
What you're about to see is not a news broadcast.
Or a news documentary.
Today, near England's ancient monolith at Stonehenge, an extraordinary phenomenon is occurring that defies all explanation. Bizarre, perfectly formed circles are appearing overnight in scores of wheat fields across the country. Experts have no idea how they have been formed, only that they seem to have no human or natural origin.
Crop circles.
Who or what is responsible for their creation? In a small town in Colorado, two friends vanished without a trace under the same bizarre circumstances, and oddly, these same events were foretold in a novel one was writing about the other. On a North Carolina highway, four men were stalked and driven off the road in a savage high-speed chase.
Okay, so we're talking missing people, mysterious books being written that foretold it, crop circles, and then one of the things I noticed, and this is just me noticing shit that I notice, the sort of, what do they call it? It's not a strobe dissolve. but that pixelation that you see when wiping from one story to the next, it goes by very fast. In fact, Robert Stack's voice doesn't really separate the stories very well. But when you see this pixelation, the squares that kind of pixelate and then unpixelate to the next story, God, is that creepy as fuck.
What could have been the motive for this vicious hit-and-run killing? Also tonight, the heartwarming story of a reunion between a young woman and the loving family that she was separated from 13 years ago. On the very night of our broadcast, Sharon Stevens found her long-lost foster parents.
Man, that's the fucking mojo freaky ass shit right there. Like, I get goosebumps even hearing that melody, and then that bass line, dun dun. It's very ominous and very scary. And if I remember right, I'm going to hit escape, and I'm going to look at other examples of that. That's the one. That is the Supremo one. And I mean, I want to actually download that off of YouTube just because of how perfect that is. That's the ultimate one. Because not always did that opening sequence have that climax that showed solved. That was when it kind of went from mostly mysterious and scary to real fucking scary. Because as you saw, as whenever possible, people were recreating the events. They did lots and lots of filmed recreations with Robert Stack's very ominous voiceover. And I mean, it was creepy. It was creepy as hell. It was creepy in the same way that goddamn Max Headroom broadcast intrusion was. And I think I even saw the Max Headroom broadcast intrusion on Unsolved Mysteries, which is probably why I get so creeped. There's different examples of the music. Here's one that says Unsolved Mysteries intro 1987, 3 years earlier than the one that we saw. I'm hoping to catch one that was, as I said, not that, as I said, left out the solved part, or at least just got creepy in kind of a different way. It may be the exact same thing we're about to see. Okay, this looks like one that was redubbed with just the music without a... Yeah, somebody doctored this up. Although I do like that it has no narration. Okay. That is not anywhere close to what I was hoping to find. That was actually worse than the first one. Unsolved Mysteries opening theme, Men in Black. Okay. The other thing I feel like I should point out, alternate opening and ending. All right. Couldn't find it, so I posted it. It's not as scary as the original, but pretty spooky. A lot of people have, because one of the things that has happened with this Unsolved Mystery show is, I think Lifetime played reruns of it for a while. I myself watched a rerun of it, God, on probably like the ID, whatever that Discovery Channel spin-off or offshoot is. That's just like sort of mystery. Because for instance, HLN, the Headline News Channel, does nothing but those forensic files, half-hour mysteries, back to back all Sunday afternoon. They don't do any used to be they would do Around the World in 30 minutes. This is Headline News, and no matter what day it was, what time it was, you could always get a half-hour newscast, and it was the same thing. Now, as I said, I'm all over the place tonight. Lifetime and other channels have done reruns of Unsolved Mysteries, and what they do is they repackage them. and they'll replace some of the graphics but leave the music, and then they'll sort of adjust the music and trim the music for the ability to put more commercials in or whatever. And they trim it to the point where it's no longer creepy and it's no longer the same. I can watch those Unsolved Mysteries reruns on other channels today and not get the creepy tingling skin goose flesh thing that I was having happen when we watched that first one. That first one was the shit. That's exactly how it was on NBC. You could see the little NBC in stereo thing at the beginning. It was freaking spectacular. And other people have taken clips of the video and muted the audio from it and then put just the instrumental music. Some of them have one of them here is like a 14-minute long loop of just the Unsolved Mysteries music. Like, I don't know why you'd ever need that. Some of it's just a frozen still of the original logo with the music playing, and it's like, all right, that's not what I wanted. Let's see if this is just called the closing theme. Also, the closing theme was creepy. Let's switch to that. Nope, this is not it. It is a version of the opening theme, but this is one of the ones that was not the original. Nowhere near the original. All right, let's just do this black one that says HD audio. Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries, a woman is found missing after 17 years behind the wheel of a car. And her cousin is her long-lost brother. Crop circles appearing in Virginia and Louisiana and Kansas. Could they have a human connection, or could it be extraterrestrial? A man finds a note inside his box of Frosted Flakes. It says, "Help, I'm in a Frosted Flakes factory being forced to use slave labor." Is it real, or is it an unsolved mystery? I'm Sebastian Coons. That cat's creepy. Okay, and this is where it deviates from the music I'm talking about. This is sort of another loop. Because the one I'm talking about has a very distinctive close to it. It climaxes, there's a drum beat, and then it goes back to that. This is not the good one. Now again, it's not, that's HD audio, that's fine. But the one that I'm talking about, and I'm just going to play it again because this is the good one, from Digital Dave 82. The W82DD.
She was separated from 13 years ago.
All right.
On the very night of our broadcast, Sharon Stevens found her long-lost foster parents.
Okay. Okay, here's the climax for the solved cases. Okay, and then here. Dun, dun, dun. This is what I'm talking about. That right there, that little climax to the end. And the drum beat I said a second ago is a critical part of it and kind of the dead giveaway as to whether it's the good one or not. Dun, dun, dun. Here's the drum beat, listen. Right there. Okay, I'm quite sure that people who are not as into this as me are probably like, what's the difference? It's the same music. They literally don't hear the difference in, the version I'm saying is the good one and the versions I'm saying that are the shitty ones. I'm hoping to find other versions of the Unsolved Mysteries opening. I think I've kind of gotten them all. And sadly, I have like expectorated on my trackpad to the point where it's not responding the way it should be. Alternate opening and ending. Again, that's the alternate is not it. The alternate, they fucked up, and it's completely not it. Popular Robert Stack and Unsolved Mysteries videos. There's a playlist here. Let's see if I can switch over to this and see if you can
Join me. Perhaps you may be able to
help solve a mystery. All right. Well, they cut it off too early, but was that one of the good ones or one of the bad ones? That was one of the good ones because again, it had the drum beat in the right place. It's not a single drum beat. It's actually two. It's like a rim shot and a drum beat. This goddamn. Oh, hold on a second. Hopefully, I can wake this piece of shit up here and. Dun, dun, dun.
What if your mind?
All right, again, it cut off, but those graphics are updated graphics. That's not the original old school scary version. These were like probably the 1990 and later version of Unsolved Mysteries where they had a bigger budget. Why not redo the graphics to be slightly more, 3D and scary and whatever the hell. But frankly, when it was lower budget in the old school days, 87, so on, that's when it was scariest, when it was much more simple. When they just showed those clips, a guy smashing a window with a baseball bat, a car, a police car screeching up to an alley and blocking a suspect running in a leather jacket. All of those little things. The guy's holding a screaming bearded man down on a staircase as he's yelling at them with an angry face. I don't know why. All of those elements combine to a truly freaky opening sequence, the likes of which they have not been able to duplicate. Even when they changed it on Unsolved Mysteries, it became less scary. Something about that original series of opening sequences, and it's not just one, but it's the ones from like 1987 and 1990, maybe 86 to 90, which were just, scary to the point of, have the lights on in the house when you go to bed kind of thing, because you'll freak the fuck out. Let's see here. It's already 10:33. I'm wasting a lot of time just sort of spinning my wheels, and I don't want to do these other mysteries without knowing. The Kurt Cobain episode, season 1 with Robert Stack. Let's play this. This might be what I'm talking about. Let me switch over to it and let you hopefully, I'm crossing my fingers here because again, it would behoove me to do a little research before this show and actually try and find the stuff so I could just go to it and play it one after another for you, the viewer. In this case, this looks like even season 1 unchanged by the Lifetime channel, because the other thing about doing a show about Unsolved Mysteries is once you get something solved, you got to update it. So you can't even rerun the original show without saying, oh yeah, by the way, we found that kidnapped person, he's alive and well, or he was found murdered or whatever. Created at One True Media. I'm already thinking this is not going to be what I'm thinking I want, but let's give it a shot. No. If it is on DVD, that is not. Okay, whatever. This is not. That's not it at all. In fact, not only is it not it, that's not even the fucking music. That's like some bullshit about voting for the... whatever. I'm sorry, I'm looking at other... Like what I'd love to see is Unsolved Mysteries TV series 1987 trailer. Let's give that one a shot. I don't know what we'll see here. I already know it's not it though from that music.
You know the music. You know the voice.
Perhaps you may be able to help solve a mystery.
You know the fear. In the history of television, few programs have been so shocking.
I said, please don't shoot him. And the man just shot him anyway.
So fascinating.
I thought, well, I've got to see what this is.
Or so compelling.
I saw a little girl jumping on the end of my bed.
As Unsolved Mysteries.
Stories that defy our imagination.
Now available for the first time on DVD.
All right, so what I'm getting is a lot of commercials for the DVD box set, which, let me just say, I think I'd like the DVD box set. What I think will happen, and this happened in the case of the other show that was actually just as creepy and came before Unsolved Mysteries. It was called In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. Let's just hit In Search Of intro here. Intro, outro music. Now, I'm pretty sure these are not the original intros, because what happened here was, I believe it was, which channel? AMC? Possibly A&E, Arts and Entertainment Network. I think these are not the original openings. This comes from the recent DVD box set release. I'm pretty sure that the box set DVD version is not the one that we saw on television in the 70s and 80s. I'm almost positive. Okay, that music is right.
Presents information based in part on theory and conjecture. The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
Okay, that's the correct music. And did you notice that disclaimer? Let's go back and listen again.
The producer's purpose is to suggest some possible explanations, but not necessarily the only ones, to the mysteries we will examine.
Okay. In fact, I think I'm going to go back on what I said. I think this is the original graphics, visuals, and music that were not redone on A&E. For instance, we all know about the illegal file sharing networks. I have seen, and I don't have them, but I have seen somebody who downloaded the In Search Of series, and it's the one that was more or less DVR'd off of A&E or whatever cable channel reran them in the 2000 decade, 2000 to 2010 kind of a thing. And yeah, they redid the graphics in the opening sequence. I don't know what made them do that. I think they left the music alone, or maybe did a variation on the music, but I mean, it's not the same. And I know at an instant, like, that it's not the same. I absolutely know. Let's go to the other show I mentioned before, which is the creepy-ass one from England called Secrets and Mysteries. That actually looks like an Unsolved Mysteries tape there. But here is one from Secrets and Mysteries Pyramids. All right. It became also called Secrets of the Unknown, like for the VHS release, and it's a show that was not widely watched. And I believe this is the home video, so it'll be called Secrets of the Unknown instead of Secrets and Mysteries.
They were created in mystery, and their shadow falls across the ages.
People wonder how 5,000 years ago they moved these huge stones.
They reached to the heavens, and some say it is from there that their builders came.
There are a lot of mysteries about it, and we could not successfully produce another one today.
They were tombs and temples, observatories and enigmas, and their power is still explored today. They are the pyramids.
Okay. There's a little, what is that, like a 45-second introduction. Now, here's the opening sequence, which it's not Unsolved Mysteries scary, but it's creepy and bizarre in its own way. Mostly because of the naked bald guy and the processed voice.
Beyond what is known lies an unexplored world of shadows and phantoms. A land that knows no limits of time or space. From the dawn of discovery to the nightfall of catastrophe. Journey to a universe of the unexplained, the unforeseen, the unbelievable. A place beyond reality where no question will go unanswered. A place where myth and legend are law, superstition a science.
Okay, that edit was so fucking bad you could even hear the beginning of a T sound where the edit kicked in because there was another line of dialogue or another line of monologue with that weird processed voice. Because they changed the title for some reason. I don't even know why. I mean, what's wrong with Secrets and Mysteries as opposed to Secrets of the Unknown? Like, I think Secrets and Mysteries is better, frankly, but that's because I'm used to. But here's how that original VO went. VO is an insider media term meaning voiceover. Beyond what is known lies an unexplored world of shadows and phantoms, a land that knows no limits of time or space. From the dawn of discovery to the nightfall of catastrophe, journey to a universe of the unexplained, the unforeseen, the unbelievable, a land where myth and legend are law, superstition a science, traveling through a universe of secrets and mysteries. Okay, that's how that traveling through a universe of secrets and mysteries is the part that was truncated, and by the way, not very well by the fuckers who did that VHS release edit of the opening sequence. I think excuse me, brought to you by Belch Beer. It's Mountain Dew. I think I actually have found from YouTube here a version of the opening that is from the original show that was called Secrets and Mysteries. And let's try watching that and see if the opening sequence is... This is about witches.
Burned, and mostly misunderstood.
So again, that voiceover from Edward Mulhare, the guy who played Devon on Knight Rider, was creepy in its own way. Creepy because he's British. He's got a kind of gravelly voice, kind of like Robert Stack. And again, anybody who does the mystery kind of approach to their voiceover is able to make it mysterious and scary.
We went underground after 9 million people were burned, hanged, and tortured.
They can journey to the darkness, where good and evil can become one.
It's often been said that the gods of the old become the devils of the new. In actual fact, witches don't even believe in the devil, let alone worship him.
They were born in an age when magic was a religion, and they live among us today. They are witches.
Okay, there's the intro. Now here's the opening.
Beyond what is known lies an unexplored world of shadows and phantoms. A land that knows no limits of time or space. From the dawn of discovery to the nightfall of catastrophe, journey to a universe of the unexplained, the unforeseen, the unbelievable. A place
beyond reality, where myth and legend
will go unanswered.
And where no question will go unanswered. A place where myth and legend are law, superstition is science. Oh, this is the fucking thing too. And again, they cut off that last line that says traveling to a universe of secrets and mysteries. And in fact, there's no voiceover at all. God, I hate that. Why do they do that? All right, whatever. It doesn't really change it too much because then we go on. I'm going to hit play again here in a sec and watch the set that he's on. And all of the shows kind of opened in this way. You see this kind of weird shadowy figure in the animation. And it sort of a lightning flash cuts to him on the inside.
It's time for our journey to begin.
That's the first line of every episode. It's time for our journey to begin.
We'll stand at the crossroads between superstition and reality. You are witches. Knowledge surrounds these library walls, and with these instruments, that knowledge can be ours.
So it's supposed to be sophisticated-looking, computerized material, but these fonts and these graphics could not be more 80s-esque. Online. All information, access cleared for play. I don't even know what the fuck that means to this day. They always have that. Every single episode has that phrase on a screen. In fact, that little sequence we saw is very much, he looks into the, what do they call this? A zoetrope machine?
We stand at the crossroads between superstition and reality.
And then he throws that big switch that his hand is on.
Witches.
And the kind of the devices and lights come on. Knowledge surrounds these library walls.
Knowledge surrounds these library
and with these instruments, that knowledge can be ours. Okay, so you see light, computers like sort of lighting up in a way and, animating in a way that computers never really do. And then this comes on in the wrong font. Subject, witches, data sources, viewing portal, computer, online. Okay, so he's got this computer, this high-tech computer, whatever, and that viewing portal he looked in, and then this phrase, all information, access cleared for playback, which is completely fucking bullshit, meaningless.
When some of us imagine a witch, we think of a cloaked hag huddled over a boiling pot filled with unspeakable ingredients, or flying through the night upon a broomstick. That image, alas, is far from the truth. To discover what a witch really is, we must journey back to an ancient time when magic was a way of life, and the gods battled for the hearts and minds of humanity.
And then, the bookshelf slides aside, revealing the blue screen, upon which is superimposed video of whatever we're watching. I'm going to fast forward to, hopefully, the closing credits. Because the closing credits, he kind of wraps it up.
Responsibility for that. And that's what we are trying to do now, help people to understand us so that we are not the disposal for the ills of the earth. Because if they're looking for evil in us, they're looking in the wrong place.
These men and women who can so easily sail into the mystic world are not to be feared. They are to be understood, for they may have knowledge that can benefit us all, helping us to comprehend the boundaries of our real world a little more fully. The ancient ways live on. Your gods still exist as long as you believe. Witches, echoes of a magical past.
He turns it off, throws that switch back, and goes back to the window. And this is the original closing credit music. And hopefully, there's the voiceover in a female voice. It says something like,
Secrets and Mysteries presents information based in part on theories and opinions, some of which are controversial. The producer's purpose is not to validate any side of an issue, but through the use of actualities and dramatic recreation, relate a possible answer, but not the only answer to this material.
So did you catch the similarities there between what they said in the In Search Of opening? It was almost verbatim. The producer's intent is not to validate one side of an issue, but to present a possible answer, but not necessarily the only answer to some of this material. They always had that. And something about the wannabe-ness of it. I call it a wannabe, and this is done in slow motion. It's the same sequence that we saw in the opening credits, but with the slow motion. The sinking of the Hindenburg there, dissolving to the Titanic going down into like a hellish flame hole. And then a pyramid with that eye, and the eye 3D graphics here blinks. Blinks here. Wait for it. There it goes. And then the tarot cards fall and become Stonehenge. It's all, for 1988, I'm looking at the article on Wikipedia here. For 1988, the animation's not horrendously bad. Again, Unsolved Mysteries was on the air, creeping people out on a kind of major network level, what am I trying to say? High level sophisticated broadcasting of, major market network television. That's still not what I wanted to say. It's like, high end for the late 80s kind of a thing for a freaky show. Now, this was a syndicated show that was on, like, you know, not the NBC affiliate, but it was on the station that was, because here's what we had NBC, ABC, CBS, and Fox. And then there was usually that independent station that would do, like, you know, the pro wrestling, and it would play roller games, and it would, you know, it would do American Gladiators on Saturday afternoons, you know, and then, like, on Sunday night late, it would play Secrets and Mysteries. So this was the ugly stepchild, the ugly, you know, sort of stepbrother to Unsolved Mysteries. But again, because of the wannabiness, the straightforwardness of the producer's opinion, or the producer's attempt to broadcast as what is the phrase? She says, the producer's purpose is not to validate any side of an issue, but through the use of actualities and dramatic recreations, present a possible answer, but not the only answer to this material. I mean, there is no reason for that disclaimer to be there as far as legal shit is concerned. I really don't think there is any real legal reason. You know, you can present a fully fictitious show and you don't have to say this show is fiction. So for them to kind of dance along the edge of truth versus fiction is not something that they need to disclaim. So for that disclaimer to be there is a little bit creepy. I'm sorry, it just is. And again, the similarity of it to the in and out, the in search of disclaimer really rocked my world too, because I watched In Search Of before I watched Unsolved Mysteries. It was on first, you know, early 80s, late 70s, early 80s and stuff. So every so often on Sunday afternoon or Sunday evening, after the 5 o'clock news would be over on the local station, In Search Of would come on or something like that. And of course, Trekkie nerd kid that I was, Leonard Nimoy hosting it was a big fucking deal. And there he is talking seriously about Stonehenge or, you know, whatever the hell, you know, it was. It was creepy shit. And again, I'm looking at this. They have a thing about the opening sequence on Wikipedia, so let me read it to you. After a brief introduction of what the episode had in store, the opening sequence would feature a series of provocative images to set the tone of the show. A series of 3D images reveal a mansion on top of Devil's Tower. I didn't realize that animated mountain was supposed to be a real place. What is Devil's Tower? Is it in England, I guess? Other images feature the Hindenburg disaster, followed by the sinking of the Titanic, a pyramid featuring the all-seeing eye, tarot cards, and Stonehenge. The title sequence would form over the mansion. Okay, Devil's Tower is in Wyoming. Interesting. I didn't know that. And then the figure would turn to be host Edward Mulhare. It's time for our journey to begin. And again, you know, being the kid that I was, I knew the computers displayed in that show were essentially bullshit, right? Like, I mean, I had seen what big, you know, room-filling mega computers were. What am I trying to say? What's the word for the gigantic computer? Supercomputer, not supercomputer. God, my mind is just a piece of shit this morning. All right, well, you get what I'm saying, right? I know what mainframe computers are looking like. They have reel-to-reels and stuff. So for these weird kind of contrived gadgets and these odd keyboards and, you know, interaction pads and stuff, I mean, it did not look real. But, you know, for a person less educated, it could potentially look very real. And even in my educated computer nerd brain, I was like, ooh, that stuff's creepy because it's like it's from another world kind of a thing. It's not fake looking. It just is not what real computers look like. And then Mulhare would throw a switch, powering the mechanisms on the set and begin his opening narration. There was only one season of that show, Secrets and Mysteries, 26 episodes. And in 1988, when it was on, 1989, 88, 89, I was, 14, 15? In high school. Freshman and sophomore in high school. So, ooh, God, that was some deliciously kind of really honest-to-God scary stuff. Not scary quite at the level of Robert Stack in Unsolved Mysteries. Robert Stack in Unsolved Mysteries had legitimacy. This stuff had a tinge of phoniness to it, and I knew that even then. Robert Stack did not have the tinge of phoniness. The music and the graphics were all high-end, super-duper, you know, really major network good stuff, and didn't look hokey, didn't look fake, didn't look possibly real in another universe, like the Secrets and Mysteries stuff. Like, they looked real. Fucking real. And, you know, they would do weird stuff like ghosts and apparitions that were seen, and I sort of knew even then that I didn't believe in that shit. So that stuff did not scare me. The stuff that scared me were the honest to God disappearances, people who were missing, people who were murdered, you know, that kind of stuff. That was the real shit, because that, I mean, it was just this side of news broadcast or news documentary, even though that disclaimer at the beginning said otherwise. Let me do a quick search. We got 5 minutes left here. Let me search for that Unsolved Mysteries opening sequence. Is there a video of the IFC Films logo at all? Dun, dun, dun. IFC, oh, not IFC Films. ITC Entertainment is what I want, you moron. ITC Entertainment. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Entertainment. This is the one. This is the one that came before Secrets and Mysteries. And again, that creeps me out because the spinning logo is kind of mysterious, the really cool golden font, and watch for the gleam. They have a flare and a gleam and a twinkle to those letters. That I love. That's the shit that I eat up. And to this day, I'm glad that I now have the ability to create that, saying anything I want and timing the gleam and the direction of it and all that stuff. It's all very easy with Final Cut Pro. Unsolved Mysteries disclaimer. Not a news documentary. See if I can find any references to it at all. Okay, this Wikipedia article explains it, because when we look for not a news, okay. In the specials that first aired on NBC, the last sentence of the disclaimer said, "This is not an NBC News production." For other special episodes, this is the one. Like Mysteries of the Psychic Mind or Mysteries of the Afterlife, the message was, "This program is about unsolved mysteries. The reenactments and special effects, blah, blah, blah. What you're about to see is not a news broadcast." So even that doesn't have the actual text of what I was trying to describe to you. Although I do remember this, where it says the first show aired on NBC, hosted by actor Raymond Burr as a TV special. Then Carl Malden hosted the show for a while, right before Robert Stack took over full time. So I remember that as well. Unsolved Mysteries ratings have been declining ever since it was moved from its original Wednesday. Oh, wait, that's NBC. Okay. I get it. Okay, so yeah, and then in 2001, 2002, it was on Lifetime. From 2008 to 2010, it was on Spike, and now it's again on Lifetime. I actually watched an episode of it on, I guess it must have been Lifetime, if that's where it is now on cable syndication reruns. And the greatest thing, it was the greatest thing. I mean, not the greatest thing, because the girl was missing. A teen girl turned up missing in 1980, whatever, 8, and had turned up murdered later, sadly. But the funny thing was, she had been missing. Her parents didn't know where she was, and then somehow, I forget how it got called to their attention, but in a video, it was the New Kids on the Block, and the New Kids on the Block did their very first concert video. I don't know if it was called New Kids on the Block or what, but it was there's you know how they do it when it's a live concert video. You see them on stage with a bunch of screaming girls in the audience, and somehow there's a camera shot of a girl, screaming and going nuts, and it's almost totally clearly the missing girl. This missing girl turned up in the audience of a live concert video from the New Kids on the Block, and it was just creepy as hell. All right, that is it. I was hoping to finish this with pictures of... Okay, here we go. Pictures of cats. A friend of mine on the Trekkie chat, her name is A Wooble. She has kitty cats and like a whole bunch of new kittens. So let's check out her kittens as the last thing we do here. Shifting completely from shifting completely from the creepy TV to something funnier, just to end the week on. We'll be back on Sunday night for regular news Sunday, then Nerd News Monday, Game Show Tuesday, Media Watch Wednesday, and Free for All Thursday. But let's look at 1 week old kittens from Canada here, for courtesy of my friend A Wooble. Can't really see much there. There they are. They don't even look like they have their eyes open yet. They're so tiny. Open eyes. Okay, there's one with open eyes. Looks like they don't photograph well. Kittens are hard to photograph, I think, because of, they're always kind of moving. Certainly with like a cell phone camera, it's going to be hard to do. But little kitty cats from Canada, the way we're wrapping up our show here. Courtesy of my friend Wooble from the from Canada. From the High Desert, I'm Sebastian Kuntz. Join me next week for all much more fun and frivolity and mysteries of the unknown right here on cBas After Dark.